Hi, welcome. My name is Chrissy, and in this video I'm going to be giving you a 2022 prediction reading and an extension of my other reading. Now, I've been receiving messages and I thought it would just be good to do like a part 2 or an extension of the previous prediction reading I have already put on my platform. So if you want to check that out and then maybe watch this one, I'm just going to close my eyes. I do channeled readings from my guides to you. So if you've tapped on this, I'm guessing that there's a message in here for 2022. So I'll just close my eyes and we'll just get started. Now, living here, I live here in Australia, and it doesn't matter where you are around the globe, things are very apocalyptic. Now, this means that things have been very ignited. So in 2022, I still feel like there's going to be a lot of this kind of, they're showing like the fireworks and the erupting. So there's going to be a lot of this kind of chaos energy out there that we're going to have to kind of learn to navigate and to deal with. Now, they're saying that that's not easy, that sometimes when we find ourselves in these chaotic situations, we have to really find that kind of inner strength to guide us through these challenging, kind of turbulent and really difficult times. So I feel like in 2022, there's certainly going to be a lot of this animosity. Already we're feeling a lot of anger. It's currently November here while I'm shooting this video, and the anger is starting to rise in everybody. Everybody's just a bit exhausted from the last couple of years. So 2022, there's going to be a lot of eruptions, a lot of chaos. We're finding our way clear, and I think I said that in the previous reading, that we are moving forward slowly, and it is actually very slowly. Nothing's going to happen very quickly, but there is certainly going to be a lot of chaos that's starting to generate out there. And it's like we all love to have our say. So everybody's trying to find their voices and they're trying to have their say. It's almost like everybody wants to grab hold of that loudspeaker and everybody wants to have their say. So it's almost like everybody's trying to get out the things that have been trapped inside them, whether they've been trapped inside of them for their lifetime or whether things have been trapped inside of them just for the last couple of years and they haven't had a voice and they haven't been able to be heard. We all want to be heard, and I think that's something in life gosh, I'm going too fast, that we have to actually learn to listen to each other. I feel like listening is a skill that we've kind of all got a bit slack on. We need to start listening to each other and we need to start being heard. And I think that's something that's really frustrating a lot of people at the moment, is where we're not being heard for our beliefs, for the things that we the direction that we're wanting to go in, and people just aren't hearing each other. It's like everybody's like, no. They don't want to hear the other versions of anybody's lives. And I think that's where a lot of this separation and segregation in 2022 is still going to continue, because it's like, well, how do we all get back on that even playing field? It's like we've all been like separated, and it doesn't matter what the reasons are for being separated. Some people have been jabbed and that separated them from the people that are unjabbed. Some people have jobs, some people don't have jobs. Some people are in lockdowns, others aren't in lockdowns. There's so much of this sort of separation divide, and I still really believe that that's going to continue into 2022, that it's going to come with a lot of that hostility and chaos, and you've kind of got to be ready for that. It's almost showing me that sign of like putting up your shield and being really brave and facing the things that you need to face, because it's very safe to stay hidden away, and it's safe to stay in our little like comfort zone, you know, hiding away in our houses or sitting in the corner of the room and kind of not being heard. But a lot of people are wanting to pick up that megaphone now and get their voices heard, and that's what I'm hearing for 2022. There's going to be a lot more people starting to speak up, because people are really tired of being ignored, and they're sick of the ignorance that's out there as well. Sometimes when people feel ignored, it really creates a lot of that overwhelm and angst in people's bodies. And I think 2022, it's going to be very highlighted, the amount of anxiety, the amount of panic attacks, the amount of fear. These are all really toxic ways to feel, and we don't want to feel stuck in those. So you've got to start to use that voice and get things out of your body. I talk about that a lot in my videos of how to get things out of your body, if you want to go and check those out with some tips on that. But starting to use your voice and being heard and getting things out can just sometimes bring us back to that sort of calmer state. And it's also about getting things out in the right way. We don't want to be caught up in the hostility and the chaos that might sort of start to arise in 2022, because I really feel like there is going to be a lot of this sort of condemnation. It's almost like deflation as well. Things are going to really, I feel like things are really going to be, it's like they're showing me like the balloon being pricked. So things are going to like be pricked and all the air is going to come out of the balloon, and it's sort of going to go, and that's how things are going to go. And I really believe that's to do with the economy. I feel like the bubble's about to burst. I feel like you have to be very aware of the housing market. That's very wishy-washy at the moment. We're getting fed a lot of confusing information. One minute they're telling us the housing market's thriving. The next minute they're telling us that interest rates could go up. There's a lot of confusion. So I feel like 2022, there's definitely a lot of these balloons being burst. And I think people are going to get a rude shock and a rude awakening now, because now that people don't have that job security, it's actually sort of going to be a light bulb moment where they're going to go, crap, if I borrow X amount of money and then I lose my job. And that's why I feel like a lot of people are jumping ship with their jobs as well in 2022. A lot of people are going to be searching for that security in jobs. They're not going to want to be in jobs that aren't essential. So as much as we're sort of looking for work, people are going to look for that work that's going to give them that security, because a lot of this going forward is still unknown. People are going to find relief. I feel like even though there's going to be a lot of chaos, a lot of turmoil, there's going to be a lot of this sort of toing and froing of energy, and it almost shows me like in 2022 we're trying to resolve things. Like, even though there's all this conflict, sometimes it's very hard to resolve things. It's almost like we need like mediators to come and step in and say, okay, so this is your opinion and this is your opinion. Now, how do we meet in the middle? And I think that's the lack of what's going on currently around the globe at the moment. There's no one's sort of meeting in the middle. No one's meeting halfway. It's like our way or the highway. So I think we've all got to start to become a lot more tolerant to what is going on in other people's lives, and start to respect each other more. I feel like instead of harboring that anger and hatred and that chaos and confusion, we've got to find those ways to accept. And I feel like by accepting people in 2022, you'll start to become a calmer person and learn about that detachment from these kind of crazy situations. And look, there's nothing wrong with having a voice. I'm all for speaking up and fighting for your truth. And I really believe that in 2022, it's those freedoms that people will still keep fighting for moving forward. I don't think people are being heard, and I think people have to really stop and listen to what the messages are that are being said in these kind of situations, because we kind of get on our own agenda, and like I said, it's like la 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 la, I can't hear you, and we go into our own little zone. But we've got to kind of open up now, and we've got to accept everybody's choices, and it doesn't matter what those choices are. We have to accept the situations, and we also have to not only have our voice, but we have to accept other people's voices and what they've got to say as well, because we can all learn from each other too. Things aren't just one way sometimes. I think what people forget, and in 2022 this is going to be really highlighted, what one person is experiencing, someone is experiencing something else. So two people, I say this a lot, that two people can be going through the same situation, but their view and the way that they see things can be extremely different. And a lot of that can come back to their background, their past, what's happened to them, what their experience has been over life, what fears they're brought up with, how strong they are in fighting for things that they believe in. These are all the things that make that difference in 2022. So have your voice, say what you think, but not only that, you've also got to listen to other people as well. And I think that's how we start to get on that more even playing field. And like I said, we can kind of unite and come together if we have those mediators and those sort of objective people. And at the moment, I think if you look at the platforms, there's a lot of videos out there going around and being circulated now about a lot of things are being questioned, like, why is this happening? You know, why is that happening? People are starting to ask a lot of questions, not only with the pandemic, but this is around climate change. Why are they making these things up? And sometimes we have to start to look at the picture in a small way, because it's by doing things en masse, even if they're little things, that we can start to make a difference. So I think 2022 is about all of us kind of pulling together and starting to make those differences going forward. I think climate change is an issue that is going to be ongoing. I think that's going to like get dragged through the ringer to the point that we're just going to be all sick of hearing about climate change. We're just wanting basically to all get on with our lives. And I think in 2022, they're going to try and throw a lot of distractions at us, and these are going to be forced upon us. We're going to have to make changes in a lot of aspects of our life. And I'm not quite sure. I'm seeing something about, definitely about recycling. They're showing me the recycling bins, whether they create more productive ways of doing recycling. I feel like that could start to happen, because people are jack of it and they've had enough of all the gunk in the creeks and the pollution in the ocean. The plastic bags are going to really be addressed, I feel, in 2022. We're going to really get back to some really strong ways of making changes, not only to ourselves, but I feel in our environment. People are going to get quite creative now on how we're going to make the small changes as the little people that are going to help us all to have a like stronger future when it comes to, you know, looking after our oceans and our rivers and these sort of things. I feel like there's going to be a lot of stuff sort of coming forward, particularly around like the pollution side of it. I feel like the fines could get way heavier. They're really going to start to clamp down on big industrial companies that have seepage and where fish are dying. I'm seeing that kind of vision. It doesn't matter where you are over the world. I feel like that's something that's going to be really addressed in 2022. Look, and I think we're all really striving for the same things. I think people are reluctant when it comes to speaking their truth, and I think that's a really sad thing. Freedom of choice and freedoms with our voice and understanding how we're feeling is part of the healing process. And I feel like the last 2 years we've all been really shut down. We've been virtually locked away, but we've also been locked away with our own thoughts. And that's very hard to deal with sometimes when these things are kind of trapped in our bodies. It can become quite unhealthy. So I think now is that time for sort of making a mark and making those steps forward in order to sort of heal ourselves now. We don't want to be stuck in these places feeling locked down, no voice, trapped. We want to start to really make some changes. And I think that's where you've got to start to look at the gifts and like what other people are giving. Like other people are out there making some real changes in the world, and it's very easy to sit back and rest on your laurels and let everybody else do all the thinking and all the voice and all this. But if you want to make changes in the way that we're living and the things that we're all going through, you've got to band together. And this is how they're showing me. It's like the weightlifters. You've got to use those muscles and you've got to make yourself stronger. So it's also by helping each other. You know, you don't go to the gym and lift some huge ginormic weight without having someone to sort of spot for you. So this is what we're saying. It's about helping each other now. Let's move forward and let's start to help each other. And I think we can really make a big difference during the chaos and the crises that might arise in 2022. I also see there will be a lot of shifting. I feel like there's going to be a lot of enormous shifting in the earth. Now, these could be the waves. I feel like there's going to be a lot of turbulence. So there's a lot of earthquake movement. There's going to be a lot of, hopefully not big tsunamis, but I feel there will definitely be more tsunamis. These I feel are a way of sort of that cleansing of the earth. So by shifting things, it changes the energy. If things stay stuck and very dormant, sometimes everything just stagnates. And when things actually shift, and it's showing me like the earth shifting, that's when the rivers start to flow and you get that freshness in the streams and the water rises up through the earth and you get that seepage flowing down further downstream. These are the kind of things that by the earth shifting, it's not all negative. Sometimes these things can be positive. So I think when you hear about tremors, you hear about earthquakes, you hear about some tsunamis. These aren't all negative things. Yes, they can create a little bit of chaos at the time, but they can also be about the energy shifting. And en masse, we as people also produce energy. And that's something to be aware of too, is that en masse, when you've got a lot of energy coming together, that can really make changes and it can really shift things. So it's kind of relatable if you think of these things in human life as well as to the land and the geographical kind of content of it. There's nothing different about when people are marching. If you get people, and this is happening all around the globe, people marching for their freedoms, marching for their rights, these are the things that can often shift and make changes. And that's the analogy that they're giving me for 2022. I feel like there's going to be enormous changes, and that's that shifting of the energy. So it's the shifting of the geography, but also it's the shifting of the energy of people in 2022, because it'll make us stronger by doing these things now and sort of emoting that energy. We can make some really big changes out there just through vibration. And that gets things moving into another direction. So that's why they use that analogy of the earthquakes and the geography and the land, that we're very similar to that. You can stay stagnant and nothing can change. But if you get up and en masse, we all move together and unite, we can really make some really good inroads when it comes to our futures and the changes that we want to make. So I feel like 2022 is going to be a year where we're all going to start to feel stronger. We're going to start to feel heard. We're going to become better listeners. And these are the things that are going to make the difference in our lives going forward. We don't want to be stuck, just shut down, quietened down, no voices, not being heard, just being too regimented in our thinking. We want to start to think outside the square, and we want to actually see things for what they really are. So you've got to put out there too what you're wanting to get back, because what do you want to get back out of life? That's important in 2022. Then if you want to get things back, you've also got to give. So go out and give your little bit as well, and show your strength and prove to people that you can make some changes as well. Instead of standing back and letting everybody else take charge of your life, you get out there and make those changes in your life. And that's a very important message. Don't stay hiding away. I think I said this in my previous reading, that when it comes to buying cars, and I already talked about the houses and making purchases that are a large investment, you really have to give this thought. Now, it's very easy to rush into these kind of decisions, but I feel like in 2022, you've got to really weigh up the pros and cons. I know there's a lot of talk around hybrids, electric cars, there's a lot of this going on. And is that going to be sustainable? I mean, you've also got to look at the cost of batteries for these kind of vehicles. Do you have the connections? I think a lot of new houses are being made with these kind of connections now. There's a lot of things to kind of weigh up in 2022. We're all going through these changes, and that, like I said, a lot of this climate change will be coming through. But when it comes to vehicles, purchasing houses, these are some of the things to kind of consider, like, what kind of car do I want going forward? If I'm going to purchase a new car, is it going to suit my lifestyle? Do I want a diesel? Is unleaded petrol going to be around? You know, all these kind of little things are things to weigh up, because when you purchase a car, you usually have it for a good 5 to 10 years, depending on the vehicle and how reliable it is. But even buying a house, you want to look at something that's going to be certainly increasing in value. You don't want to buy a house that's going to depreciate, you know. And you've got to sort of buy in the right market. You don't want to be buying a house when it's like really at its peak, and then the housing market drops, like I've said before, interest rates drop, and then the bubble bursts, like I said in the beginning, and then where are you? You're sort of handing it back over to the bank. So in 2022, I think this is about everybody getting back on track again. We've lost our way for a couple of years, and we've all sort of been dormant, and now we're starting to sort of get out there again and start to move our lives forward and start to set those goals. And I feel like 2022 is definitely about that kind of thing, about making the right choices for ourselves moving forward, especially financially and goal setting wise, because no one's been doing much really for the last 2 years. Everything's been very still, purely because of job insecurity and that unstable kind of situation around everything really. I feel like fears are also falling by the wayside. The truths are starting to come out. So what has been hidden is actually starting to come out. Now, I believe personally that a lot of things do get taken off the platforms, and that's not by my choice. That's something that is out of all our control. But the thing is, I think at the end of the day, we've also got to be aware that truths do finally come out. So I think by just trusting in the truth and staying strong in your own convictions and your own beliefs, you will eventually be heard. So keep fighting your own fight, staying strong. We're all different. Like I said, we all view things from a different perspective. Sorry. And I think if you can just stay strong to yourself, sorry, we can actually start to really move forward and make these changes that we all need to start making moving forward in 2022. So look, hopefully that reading helps you. There is a lot going on out there at the moment that's hidden behind the scenes as well. I'm seeing a lot of discussions, especially around mandates and things like this that are kind of going on. There's a lot of coercion and a lot of confusion with these kind of things. And we don't want to be told what we have to do all the time moving forward. That's something that is probably worth fighting for, I feel, in 2022. So look, stay strong, keep going. We're going to get there. We're all trying to reunite again instead of separating and dividing. It's not healthy. Try to forge that path forward. Subscribe to my channel if you'd like. I have many videos on there that can help you around self-help, depression, suicide, attraction, body language, many things. So go and check those out. Hit the like buttons. Please leave me some comments of where you're from. I'd love to hear where you're from and what you're going through at the moment, and I will see you very soon. Bye.